This lecture is about the North American colonies of France, which we're going to refer to in this lecture as New France. Our learning target for this lecture is you're going to be learning about the development, geography, and culture of New France, which is France's North American colonies until about the year 1700. At the end of the lecture, you need to be able to locate the territory of New France on a map, describe its geographic features, and describe its economy, government, and society. France's exploration of North America was very aggressive. They were exploring to try and find a northwest passage to Asia. They were searching all along the routes that went around North America and trying to find ways either around it or through it. They claimed land all across the northern part of the continent and then deep into the interior. This gave France control of the St. Lawrence Seaway up here, the Great Lakes region, the Mississippi River Valley. All of these waterways were vital to transportation. France's economic goals with its colony were fairly modest in compared to some of the other countries that were involved in colonizing North America from Europe. They established trading posts with the Native American population that already lived there. They focused on the fur trade. Beaver furs in particular were fairly sought after because the fur was waterproof. Beavers had been kind of hunted out in Europe. Fishing, farming, and lumber industries also grew up, but on a very small scale. Really, the French were focused on trading with the Native Americans. The Native Americans would provide the furs, and the French would trade with them for manufactured goods like firearms. France's government in New France was a feudal system where the king owned all the land that was claimed by all the explorers, and then he would grant it to lords who would then in turn rent land to settlers. These manors were granted to members of the French nobility, to military officers, and clergymen. The lords of the manor governed for the king and in the king's name, so they had pretty much absolute power over their lands. The society and people who settled in New France, the French leaders were very selective about who they wanted to settle in New France. They wanted the settlers to be Catholic. That was the state religion in France at the time. They also wanted to maintain good relations with the native population, so they were looking for settlers who would be willing to do that. This in turn leads to a very small French population in New France. By about the year 1700, there were probably only 30 to 50,000 French living inside their colony of New France, which is much smaller than the population in New Spain or even the population in the British colonies. The population in the British colonies was much larger. In terms of religion, there were sort of a secondary goal of the French was to try and convert the Native Americans who lived there to the Catholic faith. So there were missionaries who were French priests who went, preached to the natives, and tried to convert them. The natives that adopted Catholicism as their religion were granted autonomy very similar to the French settlers. So there was an incentive for them to become Christian. So in your notes, I would like you to do this practice. Label it Practice 1 towards the end of your notes. These are all true-false questions. You can just write down 1 through 5 and then write true or false. You don't have to write the statements if you don't want to. Number 1, the colony of New France includes the Great Lakes. Number 2, France encouraged settlers from many religions to settle in New France. Number 3, the economic focus of New France was the fur trade. Number 4, all settlers in New France participated in lawmaking and choosing leaders through democracy. And number 5, New France maintained good relations with Native Americans as trading partners. This is the end of our lecture. If you need to pause the video so you can go ahead and finish the questions, you can go ahead and do that.